Some connections defy explanation, weaving bonds between humans and wild creatures that seem almost magical. Imagine reuniting with a wild animal you once saved, only to find that it remembers you, perhaps even misses you. These extraordinary moments remind us that the natural world is filled with surprises, proving that memory, trust, and affection aren't exclusive to humans. But how strong are these bonds? Can the wild instincts of a predator or the wanderlust of a bird truly give way to loyalty? In this journey, we'll explore 5 unforgettable reunions that defy logic and touch the soul. Let's dive into these remarkable tales, starting with a lion named Christian, whose love and memory transcended continents. In the bustling heart of London during the 1960s, 2 young men, John Rendell and Anthony Bourke, stumbled upon an unusual sight, a lion cub for sale at Harrods department store. Mesmerized by the playful cub, they decided to bring him home, naming him Christian. The trio formed an unbreakable bond, with Christian growing up in a furniture shop, frolicking in parks, and charming everyone who met him. But Christian was no ordinary pet. He was a king of the wild. As he grew, John and Anthony realized London was no place for a lion. With heavy hearts, they arranged for Christian's release into the Kora National Reserve in Kenya, under the guidance of conservationist George Adamson. The transition was bittersweet, with Christian embarking on a new life as a wild predator. A year later, longing to know if their bond had survived, John and Anthony traveled to Kenya. They were told Christian had fully integrated into the wild and might not remember them, or even approach them safely. Still, they ventured into his territory, hearts pounding with hope. When Christian appeared, his reaction was nothing short of miraculous. Bounding toward them with unmistakable joy, he leaped into their arms, nuzzling them as if no time had passed. The reunion, captured on film, became a symbol of the deep emotional connections that can exist between humans and animals. Christian's embrace wasn't just a display of memory, it was a testament to the enduring power of love, transcending the divide between civilization and the wild. And as we move forward, the question lingers: can such bonds persist across even greater distances and dangers? On a remote beach in Brazil, João Pereira de Souza, a retired fisherman, stumbled upon a heart-wrenching sight, a small penguin covered in oil, struggling for life. João took the bird home, cleaned its feathers, and nursed it back to health. Naming him Dindim, João fed the penguin daily until it regained its strength and was ready to return to the wild. Most would assume that was the end of the story. But a few months later, João spotted a familiar silhouette waddling toward his home. Against all odds, Dindim had returned. Not only did the penguin recognize João, but it seemed overjoyed to reunite with him, preening against his legs and following him wherever he went. Since then, Dindim has returned every year, swimming over 5,000 miles from his feeding grounds in Patagonia to reconnect with João. During each visit, the penguin spends months by João's side, sharing a bond as unique as it is extraordinary. Dindim's loyalty challenges what we know about animal behavior. How could a wild penguin, driven by instinct, form such a profound attachment? For João, it's simple. I love him like he's my own child, and I believe he loves me too. Dindim's incredible journey reminds us that love can defy distance and instinct alike. As we journey to our next story, we ask, what happens when an animal raised in captivity must navigate a reunion in the wild? In the dense forests of Gabon, a lowland gorilla named Kwibi roamed freely, adapting to his wild surroundings. But Kwibi's journey began far from the jungle. Raised in the care of conservationist Damian Aspinall at the Howlett's Wild Animal Park in England, Kwibi spent his early years surrounded by humans who nurtured him. When he was 5, Damian made the heart-wrenching decision to release Kwibi into the wild, giving him the life nature intended. Years passed, and Kwibi thrived, but Damian often wondered if the bond they had forged could withstand the passage of time and the call of the wild. In 2010, driven by a desire to see Kwibi once more, Damian ventured into Gabon's dense rainforest, unsure of what to expect. Would Kwibi even recognize him, or would he see him as a threat? As Damian approached Kwibi's territory, the suspense was unbearable. Suddenly, through the undergrowth, the gorilla appeared. For a moment, there was silence. Then, as if time had folded in on itself, Kwibi ran toward Damian, wrapping his massive arms around his former caretaker in an embrace that spoke volumes. For hours, Kwibi stayed by Damian's side, holding his hand, grooming him, and even pulling him close to rest together. The reunion was a testament to the depth of memory and affection these magnificent creatures can hold. Kwibi's story challenges us to rethink what it means to let go. Even in the wild, where instincts reign, some bonds remain unbroken. But how does an animal soaring high above the mountains find its way back to a human friend? In the windswept mountains of Argentina, a farmer named Eduardo stumbled upon a sight both majestic and tragic. A young condor with a broken wing, grounded and vulnerable. Moved by the bird's plight, Eduardo brought him home, naming him Miguel. Over weeks, Eduardo fed and cared for Miguel, earning the trust of a creature known for its aloof nature. When the day came to release Miguel, Eduardo watched as the massive bird spread his wings and soared into the sky, free once more. Most would have thought the story ended there, but months later a shadow swept over Eduardo's property. It was Miguel returning to the man who had saved his life. Unlike other condors, Miguel didn't keep his distance. He perched close to Eduardo, resting his enormous head gently on the farmer's shoulder, a gesture that spoke louder than words. And Miguel didn't stop at one visit. Time and again he returned to Eduardo, each reunion marked by the same quiet affection. For Eduardo, these moments are a reminder of the bond they share. He doesn't need to come back, Eduardo says, but he does, and that's something I'll never forget. Miguel's story challenges the idea that wild animals must remain detached from humans. Even a bird with the freedom to soar above the Andes can remember kindness. But what happens when a creature known for its fearsome reputation forms a lifelong bond with its savior? On the banks of a river in Costa Rica, a fisherman named Chito made a discovery that would change his life. He found a crocodile, gravely injured from a gunshot wound, struggling to survive. Most would have kept their distance, but Chito saw a life worth saving. With great care, he transported the massive reptile to his home, naming him Pocho. Over months, Chito nursed Pocho back to health, feeding him fish and even sleeping beside him to ease his fear. When the time came to release Pocho back into the wild, Chito said a heartfelt goodbye, but Pocho had other plans. The next morning, Chito awoke to find the crocodile resting by his house, refusing to leave. What followed was a bond that defied logic. Pocho became part of Chito's life, swimming alongside him in the river and responding to his calls. Despite his fearsome appearance, Pocho showed no aggression, instead displaying trust and affection for the man who had saved him. For over 20 years, Chito and Pocho's bond captivated the world. Their playful interactions, captured on camera, revealed a side of crocodiles few had ever seen. "I loved Pocho like a son," Chito said. "He was my best friend." Pocho's story reminds us that even the most unlikely creatures can form profound connections with humans. And so, as our journey ends, we are left with a powerful truth. The bonds we share with animals transcend fear, instinct, and even species. These stories remind us of the extraordinary connections that can form between humans and wild animals, transcending instinct, distance, and time. From Christian's embrace to Pocho's lifelong loyalty, they show that kindness and trust leave lasting imprints, even in the hearts of the wildest creatures. Enjoyed this video? Give it a like, share it with friends, and subscribe for more incredible explorations of the natural world. Check out our other videos to discover even more unforgettable stories.